Hello, 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 hello. Hi, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. It's always very nice to see this many people here, and I'm excited. I see some familiar faces. Thank you very much. Well, I want to start a presentation telling you a little bit of my story. Like, where did I start? Where did I get all these? When I was little, I remember gathering little boxes on the pharmacy that was close to my house, and I put it together, and I started making these little things to play, like houses, and then I put together the chairs like everybody else, with the sticks and the sheets of my mom, who is here, and she has to put them back together, right? I just make the little house and then get away. I When I was studying architecture, I had the opportunity to go to little towns. This is on our website, newly made actually by my wife, Monica. Thank you. This website shows a lot of our story, a lot of tips, a lot of things, www.centroarchitects.com. And in one of the sorry, about, we put a lecture I did actually in the US, we'll get to there. But I want to show you more or less how this started. I got involved into a program of architecture to do kitchens for low-income people on the south of Mérida, in little towns. And I have the most amazing and fulfilling experience ever. Like, that definitely was one of the moments that changed my life forever and made me realize that all we can do for others and all the good that we can do for other people. These people have nothing. They really live in very, very bad conditions. I have the opportunity to see it firsthand. As you can see in the pictures, I mean, I was doing tortillas there. I eat with them. We sleep in their houses. I got the opportunity to know really all these people. And to me, that experience and seeing how people that have nothing can be so happy and can give you so much, it was just mind-blowing. It really, really changed me. And how they live, it's in little houses like this, the Mayan house, the most of you probably know. There's a lot of knowledge inside those houses. I mean, they're built with wood, they're built really especially for the weather in Mérida, to support the weather, to live in good conditions, really. So I got very passionate about that. Later on in my life, when I graduated from architecture, right before I did, I had the opportunity to go to the US. And I went to a program because of that, because I was I really like that. I went to something called the Rural Studio. In the Rural Studio, it's in South Alabama, and they have this program where students get to design and build houses for people that don't have the opportunity to have a house, or that can't get a trailer even. This was fantastic. I mean, it fulfilled me a lot in every single way, like learning how to do construction in the US, learning how the culture is there, what poverty means there, what poverty means here. And it was great. It was a great experience. We get to do this house, which was called the 20K House Project. I actually had a chance to go back some months ago and see all the progress and the things that they're doing. And now this 20K house, which this one was the number 4, it was the number 2 that we did. And then more houses came along, and they are like in number 30 right now. So 30 iterations of a $20,000 house that was designed and built to make something that it's better than the trailers, and that they can get a credit to do the houses, which is nice. This was our client. This was Biscuit. They call him Biscuit because he always has biscuits on his pockets, ready to give to his dogs. He has a bunch of dogs. And the experience, to me, the most incredible thing was he used to live in that house. It was really messy, really crappy. The whole thing was, I mean, you enter there and it was smelly. It was horrible. Really, I feel really bad for the conditions he was living. We did this house for him. It was very simple, very clean. And I went back. These are pictures actually when I get back a year later, and he's still living in the house. He took proud of the house, and to me that was amazing. Like the way he keep his house all clean, and just because somebody gave him the opportunity to have something better, and he took care of it. And I think one of the most amazing things about this program was the founder, who is Saba Mogli. He used to say, everybody deserves a place for their soul. And to me, that was very, very important. I mean, coming from what I learned here, what I learned there, it just put it together to me. Like, yeah, everybody deserves to have a nice place. And they can do better just if you give them that opportunity. Actually, this is the last thing I'm gonna show you. This is MoMA in New York. The house, the 20K house of Alabama was exhibited in this, in the MoMA, in this exhibition, Small Scale, Big Change. So I was there. I had the opportunity to be there by chance, and then I didn't know. My wife's sister lives in New Jersey, so we went to visit, and they have the house there, and I was like, wow, I have to go. So I went there and I checked it out. This is a picture of my wedding. The three guys there are the people that work with me in the U.S. to do the house. So it was a very nice friendship that we have, and I graduated here with that house. So all of this to let you know that this is my passion. This is what I started for, and right now I almost feel like I'm a translator between all these people, all these cultures. My wife is from the US, as some of you know, and she had a hard time coming here. She didn't know Spanish. She had a hard time adapting to the culture, learning, and to me, that was really a struggle. I am a very helpful person. I like to help. Like all I do, I really want to help people. And seeing her like that made me think how many people come here not knowing the culture, not knowing the construction, not knowing anything, and being taken advantage by people that have like they don't touch their heart for things. And I think to me it's very important. One of the things that why I put this together is because I've seen many people that buy houses in Central that have no idea what they're getting into. And they go there, they spend, I mean, you're making an investment of at least 3 million, 4 million pesos, 7 million pesos. And you should pay a person to come over and check the house. I mean, it's something basic, I think. Someone that knows, that works. You know, I don't do this as my main thing. It's not, I actually don't like it that much, to be honest. Because you are in between the seller who wants to sell it now, you are with the owner that wants to sell it now, and you have to do a whole report to show who is going to buy what they're buying. And then most of the time, my reports are deceiving, you know. But at least I give the opportunity to the person to really know what they're getting into and what problems they're going to face, right? I have actually an inspection this week. They called me to do an inspection in Centro and then in Cholul. And I feel like I was a big help because they were about to get into a lot of trouble. And they went to a much better house for $1 million difference, which I think it was very successful. So I'm gonna start with this. What is the importance of buying a house in Mérida in these days? You know, as you know, Mérida has grown exponentially, very crazy. This is 47, where the restaurants are, and many people are coming. More people come with a lot of questions. They want to do investments. They want to buy houses. They want to put on Airbnb, and sometimes there is things that when we get a house, we don't notice. And even in our own houses, like people tend to don't look into things and get in trouble, right? So the inspection that we do, that I do, I actually do all the inspections myself. I don't send anybody else. And what I do is I'm gonna talk about what I do in these inspections and what are the key points or the main things that I always find in these houses. Like, it's almost repetitive. Like, all the houses have kind of the same issues, and I know where to look at. So I already talked about this, but an inspection, if you hire somebody to do an inspection, it should have electrical, plumbing, and also talk a little bit about who are your neighbors, what's happening on the area and stuff like that, right? To avoid getting into trouble. Oh, I said here, avoid inspections with realtors or owners with you, because I've done many where the realtor come with us, but I mean, he's interested in selling the house. So if I said something, he's gonna say something else. And then you're gonna be like, I'm gonna be uncomfortable in the situation, right? So the only reason I put it so I'm not uncomfortable in that situation. But anyway, if you're with the owner, even worse. I mean, they have their interests, it's their house. You all love your house. So you're gonna try to say things that are important. I have an experience when I was going with a guy and I was showing him 2 sinks, and the hot water working one and the hot water didn't work on the other one. And it was those levers that you go like this, hot and cold. And the woman who was the seller, she said, oh yeah, they make the sinks like that because they make the hot water in this one and the cold water in this one. I was like, wow, you're selling houses. I mean, it's crazy what you found, right? That's why right now they have a better understanding, and they're starting to get like studies for selling houses, which I think is great. On the structural and exterior considerations, when you get a house, one of the most difficult things is the neighbors. So in Centro, you get houses that, unlike in the US, that you have a lot and you have all this grass area around it, well, here you're right attached to your neighbor. So the first thing you want to do is make sure, if you can, the first thing I see is the roof. So first thing when I do an inspection, I go to the roof, because nobody sees it, not even the owner knows what they have in the roof. It's like the main place where you have most of the issues. And with the rains we have here, with the sun we have here, it's really critical. So you can have the neighbors don't put in a finish on their wall, and that will affect you. And there's no way in this earth that you're gonna be able to convince your neighbor to pay for putting a finish. Sometimes you might be able to convince them that you're gonna pay for the finish, but it's something you have to consider because it's expensive to put finish on a wall. And if you don't do that, and if you don't take that consideration into the house, you might get into a lot of trouble. What happens is when the rain comes, the water starts seeping in into the walls, and then you start getting humidity on the walls. Normally, if you have humidity at the bottom, it's caused because of the water racing from the bottom top. Then you can have humidity on the top, which can come from the roof. But if you have some spots in the middle of the wall, certainly coming from the neighbor. Like, it's almost certain that it comes from there. And sometimes they don't waterproof their roofs. And so you have a crack that make water go into your wall and you get affected. So, I mean, it's something to consider, and I think that was one of the main points of the inspection I just did. The neighbor was like with tin roof, and the whole finish was really bad, and I was like, if you buy this house, you're buying trouble. You're buying problems for the long term. So it's important to take that into consideration. This is one of the inspections I did, and I was like, what is this? They leave the blocks open, so the water just enters there. And then when you see it in this side, it's beautiful. I mean, you have the finish, very nice. But then on top here, you have these holes, and you can see like the neighbor doesn't really take care of the property, right? So that's a good example of that. And then another thing is privacy. I get a lot of that because people make their second floors, but many people here have one floor. So you can either look at their patio, or they can look at your bedroom, or if they have a second floor and you don't, they can look at your pool. And some people don't think about that when they're looking into a house. So when you look into a house, you have to be aware that people can maybe see you, and it will make an uncomfortable situation. And I have run into those a lot. in Mérida, and it's hard to deal with the neighbors. And I am the one always going, and some of my guys also, thank you, they go and have to deal with it and make all these arrangements, which is very complicated, to be honest. The abandoned properties is another issue. Like, you don't even know who the owner is. That's even worse. Like, how do you, if you want to get in or do a repair, how do you get in contact with them, right? I say that the best time to buy a house is when it's raining. If it's raining, go and check and make sure that it doesn't have leaks or you don't have things on the outside. One of the things, as I said, is the roof. So here is a roof of an inspection I did. Most of the pictures are from inspections, for real inspections I did. You need to make sure that somebody gets into that roof and takes some photos. You have things like this, that the only way to repair it is to tear down all the cement and redo it so it has a new slope and water can get off of those areas. But you can create new problems, because if I do that higher, then maybe the water was coming from this side going to that side, and now the water is going to puddle before that. So sometimes there is not really a good way to solve these types of issues. You might have to redo the whole roof, and that's very costly. And if you didn't pay inspection, you get in, you say, oh, it's beautiful. And then you go to the roof and you find this, and then you're screwed. You have to redo the whole roof, and that's going to be a lot of money. They have skylights. The skylights, they use a lot of polycarbonate, for example. Polycarbonate is noisy, it's hot, and it leaks. Always. Doesn't matter how you install it, it always leaks. One day or another, it will leak in the time, right? Maybe not. There is some small cases, but most of the time it does. Another thing that you can see here is the air conditioners, for example. They don't have a base. Many people don't do bases for the air conditioners, and they're important because they protect the waterproofing. So if you have a waterproofing, you can do a base. It doesn't really matter. It could be a concrete base with waterproofing, and then you put your air conditioner on top and anchor it will be the best for hurricanes and stuff. But then you can see there's none, and the pipes are fine there, but you have to be careful. Some people don't put any waterproofing. So the roof is raw. They don't have any waterproofing. The proper way to do it is put a layer of the paint waterproofing, then fabric, and there is two types of fabric, be careful. There is a thin fabric and there is a reinforced fabric. So if you're gonna do a waterproofing, make sure that you use the reinforced fabric. And then you put another 2 layers of waterproofing. Most of the inspections are people that just did 1 coat of paint, and that's it. So, I mean, there is a lot of issues. And many people don't understand also the cracks on the roof. So, having a waterproof roof doesn't mean that you don't gonna have leaks. Can I say that again? Having a waterproof roof does not mean that you don't gonna have leaks. The leaks come from cracking on the roof. So if you have a crack, it's a separate issue. You have to seal it. We use a tape that melts into the roof, and that has been very effective for like 10 years now. And you have to take care of that first, and then put the waterproofing. Another issue that I see is that many people do the waterproofing on top of the raw roof. Like, imagine this is like that, and they don't even wash it. They just put the waterproofing on top of it. And that's horrible, because then you did nothing. The whole thing comes off and doesn't protect your roof. Then the other thing is the pipes going around there that you can like step on or break. Especially, I see a lot of electrical boxes open with the gas line going right beside it. It's like I'm like, wow. But this is an example of how like you put some pieces of block and you leave the water there. So when someone goes into the roof, hopefully they don't step on that and break it, right? Because you have all your water going out. And then they put this is made for interior. That orange pipe is made for interior use. If you use it on the outside, in a matter of months, you will be cooked by our sun, our beautiful sun. Everybody knows that if you don't use sun protection, you're bad with the roof. So you either waterproof it or don't use it. Use galvanized, use green pipe that is made for that. But that's a red flag, right? And then I'm gonna talk a little bit about the windows. I'm very particular because in the office, we love design, and iron windows have the ability to be very thin and nice and beautiful, and everybody loves the crawling on it and everything. But the reality is that when you have a little window on it, most of the cases, almost all, if you can open it to the interior, that means water gonna come in because it has an angle, and then the window is an angle as well. So they're like this, and water just goes in through the glass and start going down and goes into your house. So there's no way to seal it. If you have a roof over it, great, you can have it, it's great. If you don't, if it's exposed to the exterior, you're gonna have trouble with water, and you're gonna have trouble with maintenance because it's gonna get rusted. So we always try to propose aluminum. We try to make it nice and with a nice design. You can do some interesting things, but it's important to take care of those things. And even with aluminum, you can have things like this, where the sealant gets bad with the years and it doesn't get the right caulking. And so that can affect also the integrity of the window. Also, it's important to talk about the floors and the walls. So many of our walls in Mérida have humidity, and many people ask me, Fernando, how do we tackle humidity? Well, the best way to tackle humidity is to let it go out of the wall, basically. So what we do in Centro, we put cement finish, which could be chukum, as most of you know, and it's very popular. If you're going to use chukum, though, you better have a good company doing the construction, because if you have to break a wall, there's no way you're going to match that again. So if you have chukum or you have a color cement, it will let the humidity come out of the wall, and it will let it breathe. So that's the best you can do. And that will look like, you will see the humidity on the wall, but it almost looks like a patina. It looks, to me, nice. Some people might not like it, but that's the way you can really effectively fight against humidity. The other ways are probably not, like having mamposteria wall. You can expose the mamposteria, and you have to put cement, because if you expose the mamposteria only, you can get a bunch of dust coming out of it because it's so old that all the cement is crumbling. Or you can, painting is, everybody knows, if you have a house in Mérida, you have to paint it every 6 months, every 2 months, and every week if you want to. So that's something that you have to consider. Also, the importance of the waterproofing and all of these humidity things that you can prevent is because we use rebar and concrete in Mexico. So the concrete that you see in elements like columns, beams, they're made with concrete, and they have rebar inside. That rebar, if get humidity, then it start expanding when it rusts, and that breaks the cement. And sometimes that's why you get to a house and it's like all cracked up on the ceiling. It's because it has the metal that is rusting inside because the waterproofing was never taken care of, and it leaks humidity and start cracking the whole thing. Also, for example, I have a client that we have to replace the entire terrace roof. Like it was like, I don't know, it's 10 meters, 30 feet by 20. It was a huge terrace, and we have to take it all down because problems of humidity have caused that the beams of the traditional bigueta and bovedilla that we use here, which is beams and blocks, those beams have been affected to the extent that they could not be repaired anymore. So once they fail, you cannot repair them. There's other cases where you can take down the finish, sand the rebar, because the rebar is thick enough that you can repair it. But in those cases, the rebar is so small that you can't repair it. It's gone. So we have to take it down and put a new roof in a house that he purchased recently, actually. So it's important to be aware of that. About utilities and mechanical. So you have stuff like the water heaters. One of the topics that I love is the water heaters. I actually yesterday went to a house where they were like, the water heater is not working, we have to replace it, blah, blah, blah. The water heater was an on-demand. And on-demand water heaters, I can give you a talk about just the water heaters that are on-demand. They're crazy to deal with. A water heater that is on-demand, if you put a pump on it, imagine you have a normal gravity system and you put a pump on it. The water passes through a serpentine and gets fired and gets heated to an exact almost temperature. The problem is when you have a pressure system, that pressure system works from 20 to 40 psi. So the velocity changes. So your water also changes. So you have, when the pump is working really fast, the water gets a little bit colder. And then when it's slower, going into the 20 psi, the water gets hotter. So you try to combine it, and then by combining it, you're getting less water from the hot because you added the cold, and then your water heater detects it, and since there is not much flow because they actually work with flow, it turns off. And if it goes too hot, if it goes over 70 degrees, thank goodness, they turn off as well. So it's a whole deal. What I do is for another talk, but sorry. But the water heaters, normally we have a lot of issues when they come to check them because when we ask for a warranty, they ask you for the water heater to be protected. So you have to have a roof at least over them. That's important to know because you can buy the house, they tell you, here's the warranty, call if you have a problem, you call. They come and they say, no, you don't have warranty because it's not covered. The other thing that they see a lot is a relief valve. And there is a relief valve here. I don't think you can see it. It's a small mechanism. And on another place, I will show you the one that you should use. But if you have this one, they come also and they tell you, no, you can't. It's not allowed because it doesn't work. So even though they sell it as a relief valve, they don't accept it. Anyway, this is a electric water heater, and it didn't have a breaker either. Also, the other issue that we have a lot is the septic. No one in this city knows where the septic is. That was a little bit dramatic. Some people know, but if you're gonna buy a house and the owner, the original owner is selling you the house, make sure they tell you where the septic is. Like, don't let them go because then they don't gonna answer your emails. No, I'm just kidding. It's hard to get to know where the septic is, but it's very important because when your showers, which are the lowest point, start bubbling with stuff, it's not gonna be fun. You need also, if you don't know where they are, the best way to find them, I try everything. I'm being honest. In my house, my poor wife, I took one of the covers of the septic system, and I got a Ziploc bag, and I put one of those bells, like ring bells. I started put it in and try to adhere to it with a snake. I was snaking it in and tried to see if I can hear it. Impossible. It just echoes everywhere. Then I tried the air tag. I put it in a bag. I put it in this thing. I put it in. Guess what? It doesn't work on the ground. So I was like, this is impossible. So the technique we use is we take out the toilet and we actually see where it's going, and then we put a line in it, measure it, and if it's like 10 meters that way, then we have to open there. And that might be the register. And then you go from there until you get to the septic. So it's not fun. So if you can ask before you buy the house, probably will be better. Shut-off valves. This is important. You need shut-off valves in water heaters, for sure. Water heaters, when they don't have the relief valve, they explode inside or they break. So they start leaking from the bottom. If you have a water heater is leaking from the bottom, there is no repair. They will have to change it, and you have to apply a warranty if you are in the year warranty. You need a valve like that on the top, the blue one. These are kind of bad. The better ones are the bronze one. But you need a valve to be able to close it so you can replace it, or you can inspect it, or you can do whatever you want. Gas lines, please make sure you have a valve there to close it. because sometimes I go to a house, I see the stove, they have a leak in the stove, and I cannot even turn off the valve behind it, right? You have to go to the roof and turn off the whole tank. So it's important to have valves for different parts of the house. There is some cool houses that the one in Cholula, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to convince you to go to north. They have like a valve for each bathroom, which I thought was very smart. Really cool. So each bathroom you can go and close it, and I thought that was very clever. Also, the pumps. I have been in many inspections when the people want to sell the house, and when you want to sell the house, you buy the cheapest things, right? Be honest. So they buy these pumps that are for cleaning fountains. Like they're these little orange pumps, and that's what they use for putting the water from the cistern to your tinaco, and those don't really work. They're not made for that. They work, but they're not made. They're not the best. A pump like this will be preferred if you're buying a house, and it has this pump. You can be at least a little less concerned, because also, as you can see here, it was rusting because of the brand. There is a brand. If you get to see this video, probably on YouTube, you can remember is Franklin, which is the one that we use, we trust, and it's pretty good. They don't pay me nothing for that, but just wanted to let you know. In the electrical system, so electrical is one of the most amazing things I have to deal with. Electrical, it's crazy. So you see the green, and you said, "Oh, this must be ground." No. You see the white. It is neutral. No. Is this black? No. So there's no codes really, to be honest. So this is the way they build here. Yeah, we use tape. I don't know if it's good or bad. We do. But one of the things that I always said when you're gonna get a house, it's ask for the labels on the panel. If you don't have the labels, you don't know where everything turns on and off. The most that you can know is the double breakers are for air conditioners because they're 220, and the ones that are by themselves are 110. So you should know that if you have a problem with an air conditioner that is going crazy, go and turn off all of the double breakers because it's probably there. The single breaker is more for different circuits, and sometimes, most of the time, they overload the breakers. Yeah, I see some faces that you probably remember some experience. But what happened is, if they're not the right size, what happened is that your utilities are not protected, because the reason they're there is so they flip when a overload is happening. So if they are bigger, then the current that is coming from that is not enough to turn them off. So everything burns. And I've seen that many, many times. One of the brands that we always recommend is Squardi. The difference between Squardi and other brands could be 10 times the price. Like, it's pricey, but it's really reliable. And I have seen houses that have years with the same system, and they do pretty good. It's important to have also grounding. So grounding is some like weird concept here in Mexico, right? It's like, oh, is the house grounding? Yes, it has a ground copper pipe, copper bar on the meter under there, and that's the whole thing. Yeah. Does it connect to the house? No. Does it connect to the outlet? No. So you have grounding on your main thing, but yeah, no. The best grounding is in a well. When we do houses new, we do a well for filling the pool, a well for dumping the water from the pool, and a well for the grounding. So you put 5 bars with a naked or a green cable and connect it into the main panel, and from there connect it into all the circuits. So if you don't do that, your house is really not protected, right? So any other ground probably doesn't work. If you don't have that opportunity, it will be good to put it in gardens where you get water, because the idea is that when you have that peak of electricity, it just goes to that water and gets off, right? So the most effective is having it underground in a well where the water just release it. And this is, yeah, one of the main things. I always see this. The first thing I do when I review the electrical is I open the panel and there's like nothing. And please just, at least in Spanish, I was kidding. There is nothing there. Like really, you don't know what you're seeing. And these are the double ones. You can't see it here, but these are together. So these are the double ones, and these are the single ones. Well, you can see this is the brand. There's nothing here. So that's the double, and you can see AC Habitación 1. So at least they're marked. That's why I put that photo there. I would like to also talk about the AC units. This is an AC unit where you don't have, this is the actual gas pipe, and there's nothing covered. So they're spending a bunch of money. They don't even know, of course. You don't want to go to the roof, right? The line is completely uncovered. There is no, I actually have a photo of what it should look like. So this is what it should look like against what it doesn't supposed to look like. So it's all exposed, right? Even the cables. And so in here you have at least they did one thing right. They waterproof it, which I strongly recommend. If you get one of those free, we install for you for free, don't worry about it. They don't put waterproofing on your pipes. You need to put waterproofing. It increases the life of the pipe for like 2 or 3 years. Without it, it gets eaten by the sun and it just decays and goes away in a year. Also, be sure that this pipe is very well tight and closed. I don't know why I've seen always this like expanding foam that they put on it. It's like very, very common practice. And it's like with the sun, and then just water start penetrating there. And then, well, they did this right, but then the registers are open. So what's the point of having an electrical register if it's going to be open with all the cable exposed to the sun and to the rain and everything, right? So this is super common. I don't know if we are having a short on covers for registers, but they really don't use them much here. And it's something super important to keep the electrical inside. Also, when they use the cables outside, they should use an exterior use exterior use cable, because this is protected from the sun. If you use the normal, also they're gonna decay and they at some point will touch each other and cause a problem, right? Also, the proper installed dryer vents for the dryers and stuff like that are important. This is the gas system. In the gas system, one of the things that fails the most is always the regulator. So the regulators with the sun and everything, they start having small leaks, and they affect the way you get the gas into your appliances. It's important to be aware of changing it every 2 years or so. So it's something we don't think about really, and I probably haven't changed the one in my house. And then having the shut-off valve, as I said, and the rusty. It's very common to have these rusty things. This is the relief valve I was talking about. You can actually push here, and it will push water out of the thing. And another thing that nobody does is connect this into a pipe that gets the water away from the unit. Because if you put it and the water comes out, then it's gonna pour over your unit, and then you did probably nothing. This was something else. It was rusted. But that's the valve that you should buy to make the warranty apply. Whew. So some of us probably have seen this in the past. This is like one of the most extreme cases I've seen of sarro. It's not ice, it's sarro. So that's inside a toilet. And this to me is one of the most, I've met many people. I have a client that went away for a month. When they come back, they have a bill from Hapai that was like 20,000 pesos. Because when they hit the toilet, the little sapito, what they call here, the little valve that closes, stay open. And they have a pressure system. So massive amount of water was going out there, massive amount. And it's something that we don't check. We really don't, and it should be something that we check at least once a month, once every 2 months or 3 months. You can open the cover, check it, see that it's not leaking, and cover it back. If you put a light over your toilet, you will see if water is like going out. And always, like, I will tell you, like 80% of the phone calls that I get from leaks are the toilet. Like, I look for the whole house, the first thing I look is the toilet. So I open, sure enough, there is a toilet that is leaking. So if you have a leak, you don't have to call us. Just go to your toilets. And then we have the dishwasher. So this is important. I make an inspection. What the architect was like, yes, you can fit our dishwasher there. And I was like, okay, show me the model. Because I don't think it fits. Here in Mérida, normal height of a counter, and in the US too, is 90 centimeters. And then minus the concrete, you get to a certain point where the height is not enough. Even if you don't have the bottom part, it's not enough for a dishwasher. So be aware when you buy a house, if they have the space, because some do, or if you want to put one, make sure it can fit under that counter, because most of the time it doesn't. You need to make it normally. They're made for kitchens that are made with wood and granite. So you don't have that concrete, that thick concrete going in there and making it go down, right? So I think that's important when you're buying a house. I like to check the doors of the cabinets and the mechanisms, because they get rusty here so fast. I have a client that once, he came here and he was like, Fernando, I have these in Miami, these spots for like years. And I came here, they immediately got rusted. What's wrong? But it's a reality. These things tend to rust really quickly. And so if you're buying a house, you're thinking of buying a house, it's important to make sure they're working right. Pools are another thing. I have a lot of stories of pools, and we don't have enough time to tell you, but I got most of people sometimes call me because they want to find a leak in the pool. It's challenging for me. I love challenge, so I love it. But it is a headache, right? You have to leave the water in the pool, let it drain, and see. I mean, you turn off the system first to make sure it's not the system. If it doesn't drop, then it's the system. Then you let it drain, and whatever it stops, that's where the leak might be. Now, if you have a pool where you have a light, 80% of the time is the light. Why? The light, electrical, actually has water inside. So when you put a light, the cable that goes out is full of water. So if that was made by an electrician, or sometimes I will say not an electrician, by a plumber or by a pool guy, they're gonna use pipe that's probably not the right one. I was right. The electrician will not use the right pipe. They will use one of those orange pipes, and water will go in, they break, and the water starts leaking. So, it can break anywhere. So if the water is above the lamp, your leak is probably at that level, I mean, in the pipe of the light. And what we have to do is seal the output and don't let the water go in. But there's nothing else to do. I mean, unless you want to break your pool and now have issues of water leakage, right? And how many of you have been here enough to see some of these images? This is actually in Las Americas, this is in the north. But I mean, Centro looks like this. So sometimes a big thing, if you haven't noticed, when you go and buy a house, they have some blocks on the front. It's not because they think it's pretty. It's to prevent the water from going into the house. And sometimes they work backwards because they don't know how to build them. So they have the door, they put the blocks, and then the water falls from the door and goes in. So it's no. So also the streets, make sure they're quiet. talk to your neighbors. Like, that's something I always said to my new clients. If you have a chance, just go and talk to the neighbors. One thing when you buy a house, when you make a big investment, is you might get really bad neighbors. I mean, and if you knock at the door and say, hey, you can go with a translator maybe. We're new here and we'll just want to say hi, and you see the reactions, if they're nice, well, you can be nice. It's good to make community. Most of the people is very nice, but there is some that are not that nice. Here and everywhere. So you have to go at night to see the noises, if there's not a bar, like a hidden bar, like a new speakeasy, really cool bars. You don't know it's there until it's like 3 in the morning. But you can have a feeling when you're gonna buy a house and going at night and talking to your neighbors. The utilities of electrical on the street, there is another issue always that I found, where the cables that come from the street, they should have something like this or something like this, which is like a clamp that CFE is the only one that is allowed to put it. This clamp put together two cables, the cable that is coming from the street and the cable that is going into your house. If it doesn't have that clamp, when they come and it's a new house and they call CFE, surprise, they don't come. So you have a new house, they put the cables, and since CFE didn't come, they just tape them. When you tape them, they can easily get like robbed, and then you have the lights going flickering and all these issues, and you don't know why. It's because of that. And I got a bunch of phone calls, to be honest, to deal with this type of things, and most of them is because that connection is not good, or is old and it doesn't work anymore. But when you buy a house, you need to make sure that they have it. You have to be really look into it, because these one, for example, have that, but then if you keep going into the cable, it has the tape. So you can see that they cut it, they put a new wire because the demand of the house was bigger, and then they connected it with tape, but they leave the old connection. So you think, oh, it has the connection. No, it's separated. Also, the proximity of the transformer to the house. That's important. You might be at the end of the line and get the worst electricity in, but if you're close to a transformer, that's pretty good. And then also you have to, when you install solar panels, I didn't know about this, but I think you have to make sure they don't add too much into the line, because then they will tell you that you can't have them, or that you can't have that many. Like, it's a certain point where you can't go anymore, or you're gonna have to pay for the transformer to be changed. They probably don't change it, but they charge you for it. And the final checks before purchasing: test electrical, outlets, fans, light fixtures. One of the other issues that I didn't talk about, when you don't have the waterproofing, some water goes in and it can affect your lights, because this is blocks. This is like biguetas, which are concrete, and then blocks, and those blocks are open. So when water penetrates, it can go into those lights without any issue. And if you have LED lights, worse. The bills are very important. If you can get bills of electrical and water, how much are these people paying for it? Because then you buy the house and you're like, with this, the bill was paid because they needed to sell the house. But if there is like all these hidden bills that you didn't see before of 13,000, 20,000 pesos of electricity, you're probably gonna heritage that and start paying for that too. So it's important, if you can get some of that from the previous owner, that's great. This is the roof I was talking about, actually. So this is the neighbor of this house. I hope nobody recognizes it. But the house has this open. You can see it's like completely gone. And then you have this metal that, how are you gonna fix that, right? And it has no owner, the house on site. So this was a deal breaker actually for a house. And who will imagine? I mean, if you didn't went to the roof, if you see the house inside, you wouldn't notice this. So it's important to go to the roof. It's important to hire anybody. I mean, I don't want to say anybody, but probably most of the people that build will have probably a little bit of experience to tell you something better than what you can do, right? So this is what the last probably thing is. Thank you. Thank you very much. So put this back. So I guess we go to the questions. Sir. What's your name, sorry? John. John, thank you.